It started with a question barked like a gunshot. "What are you doing here, boy?" The quiet of Crestview Heights shattered instantly. Birds fled from oak branches as Officer Ryan Cooper stepped out of his cruiser, boots grinding into the white concrete driveway of a mansion-lined street. Morning sunlight hit the badge on his chest like it was meant to blind someone. In front of him stood a man, tall, calm, sharply dressed, adjusting the sleeve of a dark navy suit. His skin glowed against the pearl-gray car parked beside him. For a split second, Ryan hesitated, then disgust clouded his face. "I asked you a question," he said again, stepping closer. The man didn't flinch. "I live here, yeah? And I'm the King of England. Don't move." Ryan grabbed his wrist hard enough to leave a mark, twisting it toward the watch. "Rolex, that yours, or did you find it at the pawn shop?" The man's jaw tightened, his voice steady but sharp. "Officer, that's enough." Ryan shoved him against the hood of the car. "Hands behind your back." The thud echoed down Crestview Lane like thunder rolling through an empty church. Neighbors peeked through blinds. One of them, an elderly woman named Mrs. Green, reached for her phone and started recording. What she caught was a scene too familiar to ignore. A black man in a rich neighborhood, handcuffed on his own driveway, Marcus Hale, age 48, husband, father, federal agent. At that moment, none of it mattered. To Ryan Cooper, he was just another suspicious man who didn't belong. "License," Ryan demanded, breath thick with cheap coffee. Marcus moved slowly. "It's in my inside pocket." "Keep your hands where I can see them." "You think I'm stupid?" Marcus froze. Every movement was a calculation. He'd taught federal trainees about this exact scenario. How an officer's bias can turn breathing into a threat. He reached into his jacket, slowly, deliberately, and pulled out a wallet so worn it looked like it had been through decades of work. Inside was a government ID, a gold credit union card, and a photo of his wife, Janelle. Ryan snatched the ID, reading it out loud in a mocking tone. "Marcus Hale, huh? What kind of name is that supposed to be? Sounds made up." "It's mine," Ryan smirked. "We'll see about that." He held up the credit union card. "Where'd you steal this from?" Across the street, Mrs. Green whispered to her phone camera. "He lives there. I've seen him. Every morning he leaves for work at the same time." Comments began to explode on her live stream. "Call the cops on the cop. This is disgusting. Is this 2025 or 1955? But not every comment was supportive. Some were uglier, probably casing the place. "Good thing the officer showed up." Ryan's radio crackled. "Unit 12, report on Crestview. Got a trespasser. Might be a burglary in progress," Ryan said. Marcus's phone buzzed. The name on the screen made his heart skip. Director Carter, FBI headquarters. He declined the call, knowing timing mattered more than explanation. The small silver lapel pin on his jacket caught a glint of sunlight, an eagle insignia barely visible unless you knew what it meant. Ryan didn't notice. "You got a permit for this area?" Ryan asked, flipping through the wallet again. Marcus stared at him. "A permit to live?" Ryan's voice rose. "Watch your tone." From 2 houses down, a voice shouted, "He belongs here." It was Mrs. Green, trembling with anger but holding her phone steady. Ryan ignored her. "Step away, ma'am. This is an investigation." "Investigation into what?" she snapped. "Standing in his own driveway?" Her live stream was now viral. Thousands were watching. Local news reporters were already forwarding the video link to their producers. Marcus checked his watch again, noting the seconds. He had built his career around patience, and patience was about to pay off. A second patrol car pulled up. Officer Lena Morris stepped out, calm, sharp-eyed, and clearly skeptical of her partner's aggression. "What's the situation?" she asked. "Suspicious male claims he lives here." "Claims?" she repeated, glancing at the enormous house behind them. "Sir, do you have proof of residence?" Marcus nodded slightly, reaching into his coat pocket. Both officers tensed, hands hovering near their holsters. He produced a set of keys, house, car, mailbox, each one gleaming with the routine of everyday life. Ryan grabbed them. "Could have stolen these." Morris frowned. "Ryan, maybe we should—" "Don't tell me how to do my job." he snapped. More neighbors were appearing now, drawn by the commotion. The Fosters walking their dog, the Dunn twins pausing their morning jog, and at the end of the street, Karen Miles, head of the neighborhood association, marching toward them like she owned the pavement. "Officers," she said crisply. "We've had multiple break-ins lately. It's good you're being vigilant." Marcus turned his head. "Ms. Miles, I've lived here 3 years. I don't recall seeing you at any meetings," she said. Her tone was smooth but cold. "This community has standards." Ryan smirked like that was all the confirmation he needed. Meanwhile, Mrs. Green's video hit 3,000 viewers. Comments flooded in. "Who's this HOA lady? She sounds racist. This better end with someone losing their badge." Ryan's radio buzzed again. "Backup on the way." Marcus's phone lit up once more. "Director Carter." "Second call." He declined again, exhaling slowly. This wasn't just a misunderstanding anymore, it was becoming a lesson. Ryan's patience cracked. "You think this is a joke?" Marcus met his gaze. "No, I think this is predictable." Ryan frowned. "Predictable? You saying you planned this?" Neighbors' whispers rose around them like a storm forming. He didn't answer. Instead, Marcus smiled faintly, that same calm expression he'd worn through hostage standoffs and undercover operations. "Ryan," Morris said quietly, "something about this doesn't feel right." Ryan ignored her. "Hands behind your back. You're under arrest for trespassing and disorderly conduct." The metal cuffs clicked shut. Marcus winced as the steel bit into his skin, but his voice stayed level. "Officer Cooper," he said softly, "remember your badge number." Ryan laughed. "Why's that?" "You'll understand soon." At that moment, a third cruiser arrived. Sergeant Luis Delgado, 15 years on the force, a man who knew trouble when he saw it. "What's going on here?" he asked. "Suspect trespassing," Ryan said quickly. "Won't cooperate." Delgado's eyes moved between Marcus's calm demeanor, the pristine car, the expensive watch, and the growing crowd of recording neighbors. "Any ID?" he asked. Ryan waved the wallet. "Fake, most likely." Delgado examined it more carefully. "This looks legitimate. These cards are government issued." "Probably stolen," said Karen Miles from behind them. "You can't be too careful." Mrs. Green shouted, "He's lived here for years. I've seen his wife and kids." Delgado frowned. The air was thick now. Phones recording from every angle, live streams multiplying, voices rising. Ryan doubled down. "He's resisting. We need to take him downtown." "On what grounds?" Delgado asked. "Trespassing, public disturbance, failure to comply." Marcus looked directly at him. "Sergeant, I recommend you wait." "Wait for what?" Ryan barked. Marcus smiled faintly. "You'll see." The quiet that followed was suffocating. Then Marcus's phone began to ring again, louder this time, vibrating in his pocket like it was trying to warn everyone present. "Director Carter." Ryan snatched the phone before Marcus could move. "Who's this?" he said mockingly into the receiver. "Your lawyer." The voice on the other end cut through the noise like a blade. "This is FBI Director Anthony Carter. Put Agent Hale on the phone now." Ryan laughed nervously. "Yeah, right. And I'm the president." But Delgado froze. His gut told him it was real. "Ryan," he said carefully, "hang up the phone." Ryan didn't. "You're not fooling anyone." The line went dead. Silence. Then whispers. "What did he say? Did he just say FBI?" Marcus stared at Ryan calmly. "You might want to answer the next one." And as the next one began to ring, far in the distance, 3 black SUVs turned the corner, moving fast. The engines of the black SUVs hummed like thunder approaching. They rolled down Crestview Lane in perfect formation, tires whispering over the asphalt. The morning air seemed to hold its breath. Ryan took a step back, blinking. "What the hell is this?" Delgado's hand dropped from his holster. He'd seen that kind of precision before. Federal precision. The SUVs stopped in a neat line at the end of the driveway. Doors opened and men and women in dark suits stepped out, calm and composed, like they'd done this 100 times before. Marcus didn't turn his head. He didn't need to. He just said quietly, That would be who you were supposed to wait for. Ryan's knuckles whitened around his taser. You calling in backup now? You threatening us? Not backup, Marcus said evenly. Accountability. From the first SUV, a tall woman stepped out, skin the color of bronze, expression carved from stone. She adjusted her suit jacket and walked toward them. Every step echoed. Officer Ryan Cooper? She asked. Ryan stammered. Who's asking? Director Elena Carter, Federal Bureau of Investigation. The crowd gasped. Even Mrs. Green's live stream comments froze for a second, as if the internet itself was holding its breath. Elena Carter held up her credentials with a practiced flick of the wrist. You are currently detaining one of my senior field agents. Release him immediately. Ryan's face drained of color. This guy? He's FBI? Delgado exhaled sharply. My God. Marcus turned his head, meeting Carter's gaze. Director. Agent Hale, she said, voice calm but dangerous. Status report. Detained on suspicion of trespassing in my own driveway, he replied dryly. Elena's eyes hardened. She turned toward Ryan. You did this? Ryan's lips trembled. He didn't identify himself. Did you ask? She shot back. Morris spoke up quietly. We tried to verify, ma'am, but Carter cut her off. You assumed. Based on appearance. Based on race. The word sliced through the air. Neighbors whispered. Phones recording everything. Mrs. Green's live stream ticked past 30,000 viewers. Reporters were arriving now. Vans from Channel 9, Channel 12, and the local paper. The scene had gone national. Karen Miles crossed her arms. Director Carter, this is a private neighborhood. We have safety concerns. Elena turned slowly toward her. Safety concerns? You watched a man be assaulted in his own driveway and said nothing. Karen faltered, shrinking beneath the weight of hundreds of cameras. Ma'am, Carter continued, you are now part of a federal civil rights investigation. I'd recommend silence. Delgado cleared his throat, trying to salvage something. Director Carter, if we had known. You didn't know because you didn't ask, she said again, voice like ice. Ryan's shoulders sagged. He looked at Marcus, suddenly seeing not a suspect, but a man who just destroyed his career. Elena stepped closer. How many complaints are on your record, Officer Cooper? He swallowed hard. Maybe a few. 17, she said flatly. 87% involving people of color. That sound right? Every word landed like a hammer. The crowd murmured, outraged and fascinated all at once. Marcus stood still, handcuffs still on, his composure frighteningly steady. Director, might I suggest we proceed with the planned review? She nodded. Agreed. An agent stepped forward with bolt cutters, snapping the cuffs cleanly. Marcus rubbed his wrists once, then looked Ryan straight in the eye. I told you to remember your badge number. Ryan didn't answer. He couldn't. Carter turned toward the cameras. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're witnessing is a textbook example of systemic bias in policing. The words rippled through the crowd like an electrical current. Reporters raised microphones. This officer assumed criminality based on skin color, not evidence. And that ends today. Delgado stepped forward carefully. Director will release Agent Hale immediately and cooperate with your inquiry. Elena nodded slightly. You'll do more than cooperate. You'll comply with federal oversight. Morris's voice was barely audible. Federal oversight? Brookhaven Police Department has been under review for months, Carter said. Today's incident merely confirmed our findings. Ryan blinked, disbelief washing over him. This was a setup? Marcus turned to him. A test. Operation Looking Glass. 18-month study on bias in law enforcement. You volunteered. Your department signed the agreement. Ryan stared blankly. What? Delgado's face went pale. Chief Ramirez never told us. Elena's agents moved through the scene now, securing evidence, copying footage, documenting statements. Every movement was coordinated, clinical, final. This community, Elena said, was chosen for one reason, its pattern of racial complaints. Agent Hale was assigned to monitor response behavior in high-income neighborhoods. The data speaks for itself. Ryan took a stumbling step back. So you moved here? Just to trap me? Marcus's voice was calm, cutting. I moved here to live. What you did was the trap. The live stream hit 50,000 viewers. The comments exploded. Holy hell, he's FBI. Justice in real time. Someone give that man a medal. Elena's gaze swept across the gathered officers. Effective immediately, the Brookhaven Police Department is under federal review for civil rights violations. All data from this incident will be submitted to the Department of Justice, Delgado muttered. God help us. Marcus turned slightly, eyes still calm. No. God help those who refuse to change. Behind them, more SUVs rolled in. A full federal command unit. Agents began setting up equipment right there in the street. Reporters scrambled for angles. Sirens wailed in the distance. Chief Marlon Ramirez finally arrived, stepping out of his unmarked car, face gray with dread. Director Carter, he said, voice tight. I wasn't aware your team was deploying today. You were aware of the investigation, she replied. You just didn't tell your officers. That's on you. Ramirez's eyes flicked toward Ryan. What happened? Ryan whispered. He's FBI. Ramirez's expression didn't change. Then we're finished. Carter didn't look up from her tablet. Correct. The crowd was now a living wall. Cameras, microphones, faces hungry for truth. Marcus straightened his jacket and looked toward the people watching. This is what happens when accountability finally arrives. Quiet, steady, inevitable. He turned to Ryan again. You can learn from this, or you can let it destroy you. Either way, it's documented. The words hung there like prophecy, and then Carter spoke again, loud enough for everyone to hear. This is only the beginning. Brookhaven will become the national model for reform, and Agent Hale will be overseeing it. Ryan blinked, stunned. Overseeing us? Marcus smiled faintly. Every step of the way, the cameras clicked. The world was watching, and what had started as a simple arrest had become the spark for something far greater. A reckoning years in the making. The sound of approaching helicopters filled the sky. Marcus turned his face upward, the wind brushing across his skin, and whispered to no one in particular. Now they'll see. The noise of the crowd rose like thunder. The wind off the landing rotors whipped dust across the immaculate lawns. Reporters pushed forward against yellow tape, shouting questions that vanished beneath the roar. Chief Ramirez stood rigid beside his patrol car, coat flapping, eyes locked on Director Carter as she strode toward him. Chief, she said, your department is now under federal control pending review. He tried to muster authority, but his voice cracked. Director, this was one officer's mistake. It was a symptom, she interrupted, and we're done treating symptoms. Marcus stood a few steps away, calm in the middle of chaos. The very man the officers had handcuffed now looked like the center of gravity for the entire scene. He watched as the mobile command unit parked, agents unloading cases and monitors. Everything about the operation felt rehearsed, inevitable. Mrs. Green kept recording. I can't believe this is happening on my street, she whispered. The counter on her phone had passed 70,000 viewers. Officer Cooper, Carter said, turning toward Ryan. Hand over your weapon and badge. Ryan hesitated, then removed his belt, his face gray. The weight of the gun and badge in his palm looked heavier than metal. He placed them on the hood of his cruiser without a word. Delgado rubbed his temples. Director, how far is this going to go? As far as it takes, she said. This city takes $2.4 million a year in federal grants. That money stops today unless this department accepts oversight. Murmurs rippled through the onlookers. Reporters scribbled notes. Carter raised her voice. Operation Looking Glass began 18 months ago. Brookhaven ranked in the 96th percentile for racial disparities in arrests. Today's incident confirms those findings. Chief Ramirez bristled. Those statistics can't be the whole story. They are the story, Marcus said quietly. Numbers don't lie. People do. Carter held out a tablet, its screen filled with charts and graphs. Arrest ratios, use of force incidents, citizen complaints, all higher than state averages. This department has a pattern. Ramirez's shoulders sagged. So what happens now? Reform, Carter said. Or replacement. An aide stepped up with a folder. Consent decree, ma'am. Carter took it, handing it to Ramirez. Voluntary compliance. Sign this and you keep partial control while we rebuild your training protocols. Refuse and we federalize your operations under Title VI. Delgado's throat worked. That means Washington runs our department. Marcus nodded. Completely. Every arrest, every patrol reviewed by federal monitors. Ramirez looked from Carter to Marcus, then at the line of cameras. There was no choice left to pretend. You already decided this, didn't you? Carter didn't deny it. Your chief signed preliminary agreements last month. We needed confirmation in the field. Ryan blinked, confusion overtaking fear. You mean this whole thing? Marcus met his eyes. Was real life. You made it what it became, Ramirez signed. Each stroke of the pen sounded final. The crowd clapped. Some cheered. Others only stared. Mrs. Green wiped tears from her cheeks. Her phone still streaming. The comments on her feed came so fast they blurred. Justice served. This changes everything. Finally. Carter turned to the assembled press. Federal oversight begins immediately. Agent Hale will establish a field office in Brookhaven within 30 days. Delgado frowned. You're staying? Marcus gave a small smile. Moving in permanently. Seems I've got neighbors to get to know. Carter wasn't done. Officer Cooper will be suspended without pay pending disciplinary review. He'll complete 200 hours of bias training and 100 hours of community service in the neighborhoods he's harmed. Ryan whispered. Community service? Yes, Marcus said. The same communities you feared. Lena Morris swallowed hard. And me? Formal reprimand, Carter said. 40 hours of additional training within 90 days. Consider it a second chance. Morris nodded, relief washing over her face. Karen Miles tried to slip away, but Carter's voice froze her mid-step. Ms. Miles, Homeowner Association President. Your statement that Mr. Hale didn't belong is part of the federal record. Your board will receive fair housing compliance oversight. Karen's face went pale. I didn't mean... You meant every word, Carter said. That's why it matters. The street was filled with quiet now, the kind that follows an earthquake. Reporters whispered about the biggest policing story of the year. Drones buzzed overhead, capturing every angle. Marcus faced the crowd, his voice steady but warm. Real change doesn't start with anger. It starts with evidence. Every phone in sight recorded him. Today you've all seen what bias looks like and what accountability sounds like. The work begins now. Carter nodded to her team. Let's brief the media. Inside the command vehicle, Ramirez sat across from her while agents unpacked files. What happens to the rest of us? He asked. You cooperate, she said. Mandatory 40-hour annual bias training, body cams linked to federal review servers, external citizen board meetings every quarter. You'll have the cleanest record in the state or no department at all. Ramirez stared at the papers. That's 5 years of control. 5 years of progress, Marcus corrected. Outside, Mrs. Green looked into her phone. This is how you fix a system, one street at a time. Her video feed ticked past 90,000 viewers. The noise of the reporter swelled again, but Marcus didn't listen. He was thinking about what came next. Rebuilding, retraining, rewriting the story. Not of this street, but of all the others just like it. The last line of the consent decree required signatures from both sides. Carter handed Marcus the pen. For the record, she said. He signed. The crowd erupted in cheers. For the first time all morning, the tension cracked into something lighter, relief mixed with disbelief. Marcus turned to Ryan. You'll spend 6 months where I once worked. Community centers, youth programs, schools. Maybe you'll learn what service really looks like. Ryan's voice broke. I never meant... I know, Marcus said. That's what makes it worse. You didn't think at all. Above them, a news chopper hovered. Reporters called out questions about federal charges, civil rights lawsuits, policy reforms. Carter looked up, unbothered. Let them film, she said. The country needs to see what accountability looks like. And as the sun climbed higher, casting long shadows of agents and officers across the gleaming cars, Marcus understood this wasn't the end of a story. It was the beginning of something much bigger. He buttoned his jacket, the small silver eagle catching the light. Now, he murmured, let's get to work. 6 months later, the sun rose over a different Crestview Heights. What used to be quiet suspicion had turned into cautious civility. The same lawns still glistened with sprinklers. The same driveways gleamed with cars. But the eyes behind the curtains no longer looked the same way. Marcus Hale walked his usual morning route, leather briefcase in one hand, coffee in the other. The neighbors who once stared now waved. Mrs. Green always met him at the corner, cheerful as ever. "Morning, Agent Hale," she said, smiling like she hadn't once been the only voice shouting for his defense. "Morning, Gloria," he replied genuinely. Down the block, Officer Ryan Cooper was setting up cones for the youth basketball league he now coached at the community center. Kids ran past him laughing, calling him Coach Ryan without irony. His uniform was gone, replaced by a faded blue t-shirt and sneakers, but the humility fit him better than the badge ever had. When Marcus passed, Ryan paused, awkward for a second, then raised a hand in greeting. "Morning, sir." Marcus stopped, studying him with quiet curiosity. "How's the program going?" Ryan wiped his brow. "Better than I expected. They keep me honest." Marcus gave a small smile. "That's good. Keep at it," Ryan nodded. "I'm trying. Really trying." At the end of the street, a new sign stood beside the police substation. Brookhaven Federal Field Office. Civil Rights Compliance Division inside. Everything smelled new. Fresh paint, polished floors, new staff. Marcus's name was etched on the glass door. Assistant Director Marcus Hale. Federal Oversight Operations. He sat behind his desk, scrolling through reports that would have seemed impossible a year ago. Complaints involving racial profiling, down 79%. Excessive force reports, down 65%. Community trust surveys, up 62%. The numbers didn't lie, but the real evidence was quieter. The greetings, the changed tones, the willingness to listen. Director Elena Carter stepped into his office, arms crossed, proud and sharp as ever. "You've turned this place upside down," she said. "Or maybe right side up," Marcus replied. She smiled faintly. "Congress approved the expansion. Your protocol's going national." He raised an eyebrow. "The Hale Protocol?" "That's what they're calling it," she said. "Mandatory bias training, AI-based body cam analysis, and federal community partnership boards. You wrote the model," he leaned back. "And people are actually following it?" "For once, yes," she said. "Because it works. Brookhaven's proof." Outside, the noise of kids playing basketball carried through the open window. It was the sound of something new. Trust being rebuilt one voice at a time. Elena sat across from him. Ryan Cooper completed his service. "You read his report?" "I did," Marcus said. "He understands now." "That's more than I expected." "Redemption's messy," she said. "But it's real," Marcus answered. "And that matters." He pulled a folder from his desk. Inside were letters from citizens, some grateful, some angry, some just confused. "Every system we fix starts with chaos. I just hope this one holds." Elena's phone buzzed. "The Attorney General wants to meet next week. You're testifying before Congress about the results." Marcus blinked. "I was hoping for a quiet month," she laughed. "You don't get those anymore." He looked around his office, photos of his wife Janelle, their 2 kids, and a framed headline from the morning after the incident. FBI agents arrest sparks national police reform. He remembered every second of that morning. The cuffs, the fear, the silence, and how patience had turned rage into strategy. Later that afternoon, Marcus visited the new community forum downtown. A crowd gathered to hear him speak. Officers, residents, reporters, and students. He took the stage, the murmurs fading to stillness. "When that officer stopped me 6 months ago," he began, "he saw my skin before he saw my humanity. But I chose not to fight with anger. I chose evidence." When he paused, scanning the room. "What you document today becomes the justice someone else receives tomorrow." A hand shot up from the audience, a teenage girl in the front row. "Agent Hale, do you really think people can change?" He smiled softly. "They already are. Look around." The crowd turned toward the back, where Ryan Cooper stood near the doorway, quietly applauding. The girl nodded. "Then maybe the system isn't broken. Maybe it's just unfinished." Marcus's expression warmed. Exactly. The applause built slowly, then filled the room. Afterward, Ryan approached him outside. "You were right about patience," he said. "I used to think power was control. Now I think it's restraint." Marcus clapped his shoulder. "That's the first real badge you've earned." As evening fell, the city lights came on one by one, reflecting off the windows of the federal office. For the first time in years, Marcus felt something unfamiliar but steady. Peace. He returned home just as Janelle was setting the table for dinner. "You look lighter," she said. "Maybe I am," he replied, slipping off his jacket. "The work's not done, but it's working." She smiled. "That's enough for tonight." They ate quietly while laughter echoed outside, neighbors talking across fences instead of behind them. Later, Marcus sat on his porch, the night air soft and calm. His phone buzzed with a message from Director Carter. Congress approved Phase 2. "You're heading the national rollout." He looked out over the neighborhood, the same one that had once humiliated him, and whispered to himself, "Phase 2 starts here." But deep down he knew this wasn't just about Brookhaven anymore. It was about every street where fear had replaced fairness, where silence had become safety. He picked up his phone, opened a new note, and typed the first line of his next report. "Preparation beats confrontation. Evidence creates reform." He saved it, smiling faintly as the porch light flickered overhead. And from a distance, as the last of the day faded, it felt as if the whole neighborhood exhaled with him. A year later, Washington, D.C. buzzed like a living machine. Marble buildings gleamed under the spring sun as cameras lined the steps of the Capitol. Inside, rows of senators, journalists, and civil rights leaders filled the hearing chamber. The placard in front of the microphone read, "Assistant Director Marcus Hale, Federal Bureau of Investigation." He adjusted his tie, steady and unhurried. Behind him, the seal of the Justice Department loomed large, a reminder of how far things had come. "Agent Hale," the chairman said, "you've spent the past year implementing your reform model across the country. What have you learned?" Marcus leaned toward the microphone, voice smooth and clear. "That bias doesn't disappear through punishment. It disappears through exposure. We can't fix what we refuse to see, but once the truth is documented, it can't be buried again." The room fell silent, each word sinking into the weight of its history. He continued, "Since Operation Looking Glass, 34 departments have entered voluntary compliance. Complaints have dropped by over 70% nationwide. But the most important change isn't statistical, it's human. Officers are learning that empathy and authority can exist in the same breath." A senator nodded. "And what about resistance from local departments?" "There's always resistance," Marcus replied. "Change feels like loss to those who mistake power for privilege. But we're not taking control, we're giving accountability a home." In the gallery, Ryan Cooper sat quietly among other retrained officers. He wore a gray suit now, not a uniform, and held a letter of commendation folded in his hands. When Marcus's eyes found his, Ryan gave a small nod. Respect, not regret. "Agent Hale," another senator asked, "if you could summarize the mission of this reform in one line, what would it be?" Marcus didn't hesitate. Justice should never depend on geography or skin tone. It should depend on truth. The audience erupted into applause. After the hearing, as cameras flashed and microphones crowded forward, Marcus made his way outside. Reporters fired questions like bullets, but his focus drifted upward, to the flag rippling above the Capitol. It no longer looked distant. It looked earned. Elena Carter joined him on the steps. "You handled that beautifully," she said. "Thank you," he replied, smiling faintly. "Feels like the end of something." "It's the start," she corrected. "Congress just passed the Federal Policing Accountability Act. Your model's now national law." Marcus's breath caught. "It's official?" She nodded. "Every department, every state. The Hale Protocol is now federal policy." He exhaled slowly, the sound half relief, half disbelief. "We did it." "No," she said. "You did it. You turned your worst day into the country's turning point." Later that night, back in Brookhaven, the federal office lights glowed through the windows. Mrs. Green's framed photo of that first live stream hung in the lobby, a still shot of truth in motion. Ryan was there too, stacking training manuals on a table for the next round of officers. "Never thought I'd be teaching this stuff," he said when Marcus entered. Marcus smiled. "Change has a funny sense of humor." Ryan extended a hand. Marcus took it. For the first time, it didn't feel heavy. Outside, the same street where it all began hummed with quiet life. Families laughed, porch lights glowed, and for once peace didn't feel fragile. It felt earned. Marcus walked toward his home, stopping by the mailbox that still bore his name in clean brass letters. The same one that had once been questioned now gleamed like proof. Inside, Janelle waited with 2 cups of tea. She didn't need to ask about the hearing. She could read it in his eyes. "So, it's law," he said softly. She smiled. "Then it was worth it," he nodded, gazing out the window. "Every second." He sat down at his desk, opened his journal, and wrote the final entry in a file that had once started with pain. "Operation Looking Glass concludes with transformation. The system can change, but only when the people inside it decide to be better than their history. Justice isn't noise, it's proof." He closed the book, stood, and looked out into the night. Somewhere far away, new officers were watching the training video that started it all. Somewhere another department was signing its own consent decree. Somewhere another Marcus was standing on a driveway, calm in the face of injustice, ready to record, ready to endure. The world hadn't been fixed, but it was learning, and for Marcus Hale, that was enough. He turned off the light, the city glowing quietly beyond the window. In that stillness, his father's words echoed through memory like a prayer. "True strength isn't how loud you fight. It's how long you stand." He smiled. "Still standing," he whispered. Outside, a breeze passed through Crestview Heights, soft, patient, unstoppable.